Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for telling my former stepson the real reason I didn't see him much after the divorce? I was married to my ex-wife for 9 years. I came into my stepson's life when he was 4, and my wife and I divorced when he was 13. It's been 7 years since the divorce. I've since remarried and have 2 kids with my current wife. I raised my stepson, I'll be calling him JT, as my own, and I loved being his father. We were very close and I wanted to adopt him, but was constantly blocked by his bio dad, who's a real piece of crap. The divorce between me and my ex-wife was messy. We married too young, and looking back, she was a toxic and negative force in my life. I also didn't know it then, but she is also bipolar, which was undiagnosed and untreated when we were together, and it explains a lot of the behavior I witnessed. I wanted to stay in my JT's life, since I basically helped raise him, but my ex refused to let me see him and threatened to tell him I'd been a cheater and abuser if I pursued any legal routes for visitation. At the time, I was newly laid off and unable to afford a good lawyer. I really regret not fighting harder / calling her bluff, but I was afraid she'd turn him against me, or even lie to the police and get me arrested for something I didn't do. JT and I reconnected last year. He's 20 now and living on his own, and in college, for engineering at that. We've been playing catch-up, and he's met my wife and one of my daughters. I've given him some things for his apartment, etc. He eventually asked me why I didn't stick around, after his mom and I split. I told him pretty point blank, "Your mom made sure I couldn't." I didn't go into detail with the threats, or why we split in the first place, but I let him know she had strong-armed me into being no contact. JT was understandably furious. Obviously, I didn't expect his mom to have told him the truth, but I didn't realize how in the dark he'd been. I got a call from my ex. I have the same number as I always have, with her cussing me out for slandering her to her son and talking to him in general. This is the first I've heard from her in 5 years, by the way. She apparently hadn't known JT reached out to me. I told her to never contact me again, and that her son's a grown man and can do as he wishes. I've deleted her number and talked to JT, who confirmed that he confronted his mom and they fought. He's clearly really upset that she lied to him for so long and feels really betrayed by her. I feel terrible and I'm wondering if maybe honesty, or full honesty, wasn't the best policy in this situation. I don't want to cause rifts in a family, even if it's my ex. She and I have a bad history, but I know she loves her son. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Poor kid lost his father figure, and you have a right to tell him that it's not how you wanted it to go. Seems like his bio parents are pretty trash. Good on you for connecting with him now that he's an adult. Also going to go with not the a-hole. This is the type of situation where the only choices are to either lie or tell the truth, whether bluntly or easing into it, making it a bit of a double-edged sword. Could he have done it in a smoother way? Possibly, not too sure. Maybe delaying to think about how to break it to him would have been a good option as well. Although not an ideal option, possibly talking to the mother in advance of revealing anything would have given him the knowledge as to whether the stepson even knows about the circumstances. At any rate, it's clear that the intentions were not cruel. A lot of people would be lucky to have a caring father or stepfather like this. Not the a-hole. Especially if all you said was that she made sure you couldn't and didn't go into gruesome details. It's the truth and honestly, it sounds like he values your relationship. Now he knows you didn't flake, you would have liked to see him then, and now that he can do so on his own, you can. He's not some charity case and he's not guilting you into contact now, you wanted to see him all these years. I don't think he'd be the a-hole, even if he did go into details. This kid was raised by a nightmare, and if he's being tricked into a relationship with her then he deserves to know who she truly is. Not the a-hole. You didn't talk to him about it as a child, but now that he's an adult, he has every right to know the truth. Rifts in a family happen. You weren't the cause of it, you just brought the truth to light. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know if she's on medication now, but if she is, just explain she was a different person back then, and he shouldn't judge her on the past. Judge her present. If she's a good mother to him, that's what counts between mother and son. Keep being there for him, and keep it honest, just like you are. Your third paragraph is very kind. It's such a sweet thing to do because OP truly does care deeply for his stepson and doesn't want him in pain. If this lessens the pain of the betrayal his mother put him through, it would be beautiful. Not the a-hole OP. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my wife when she wanted me to pay for a nursery room with my son's VOD device money? I, 37 male, been with my wife for 2 years, and I have a 9-year-old son from my previous marriage with a congenital heart disease. He's in the last stage and is currently on wait list for a possible heart transplant. The problem is that he's sick most of the time. We had numerous visits to the hospital. He's currently on medication, but he's always struggling with doing activities and playing just like other kids. The cardiologist told me about a device called VOD that would help and improve my son's condition. I've looked into it. Spoke to other parents of kids who have the same condition, and I decided to get my son this device, and I was told the sooner the better, so that my son could participate in activities and feel comfortable while breathing and limit hospital visits. I've been saving up money for this device, and I was planning on making an appointment with the private clinic staff to have his operation done this month. My wife is 4 months pregnant, and she's been asking when I was going to pay for a nursery room for our baby, and complained that I was neglecting our baby and still haven't gotten anything for him. She started showing me different nurseries online that she thought were nice, and she went crazy about one of them that costs nearly $3,500. She insisted that I get it, but I told her that the money is for my son's operation. She said that this is my son as well. She criticized the doctor's recommendations and said that doctors are now advertising for many insufficient devices just to get money out of it, and brought up what happened with her deceased dad and how they took his money and didn't treat his condition. I told her to drop it, and she threw a fit, calling me stubborn. My wife made dinner for us and seemed quieter than usual, then she brought it up again. I told her to stop, but she went on about her expectations for me to be a good father to our unborn son and how I'm neglecting him already. I didn't even finish dinner, and before I went into the bedroom, she told me that she already called the store and pre-ordered the nursery she liked, and that I should know because I will be paying for it. I lost it. I yelled at her for doing this after I already gave her my answer. I demanded she cancels the order, and she yelled back that I was being unfair and will be an awful dad, who already failed once, and how sorry she feels for our son. She told me this in front of my son. We argued back and forth. She ended up going to her family, and she's been there for 2 days now. She mentioned that she won't return home until I decide to be fair to her and her son and stop disrespecting her. I haven't talked to her yet, and I feel like I'm being pressured, especially by her parents, who told me that I shouldn't treat her like that when she's taking care of me and my son. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. How in good conscience could she expect this from you? Your unborn son doesn't need a nursery to effing live. Unreal. I would be questioning my marriage at this point. Questioning? Nurseries are for the parents' comfort. Babies don't care what color the walls are, or whatnot. She is putting her comfort over your sick son's quality of life. Don't be an a-hole and leave her, because she is a selfish a-hole. And how long does a child want to live in a nursery? 5 years tops. It's a waste of money, especially to buy new mattress, sure, but furniture loses its value fast. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. How can she compare a fancy but unnecessary nursery to giving your 9-year-old son quality of life? She can't even blame this in pregnancy hormones. It's absurd. There's no excuse for her behavior. She has been causing me so much stress and distracting me from important matters. She's being selfish, and she's wrong if she thinks that I will give in to her unreasonable demands. Your son has an evil stepmother. If you stay married to her, she will treat him as less than for the rest of his life, which, if left up to her, would be sacrificed in a heartbeat to give her baby the best decorations. How shallow and cold. Not the a-hole. It doesn't cost $3,500 to set up a crib in a room and call it a nursery. She mentioned her sister-in-law having an expensive nursery, and how she thought that her sister-in-law isn't better than her. So she decided to go with a more expensive nursery to spite her. It's just so childish and ridiculous. It's bananas, because the baby will never, ever remember it. This is completely about your wife. You guys need couples counseling fast. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for stealing my ex-best friend's kids? So growing up, my best friend Amber and I were inseparable. We grew up next door to each other. She was even the first person I came out to, and was the biggest supporter after. But when she was 19, Amber got pregnant. The father wanted nothing to do with it and went completely off the map. Amber didn't want to have a termination and decide she was going to have the baby. I agreed to help her every step of the way. But she then found she was having twins. This resulting in her having to drop out of college once she gave birth. I tried to help to the best of my abilities, but I myself was a broke college student. Because of this, She fell into a deep depression and treated it with alcohol and eventually, D's. And she started doing stupid things that put her kids in harm's way. She never internally hurt the kids, but her action due to her substance abuse have put the kids in extreme danger on multiple occasions. She eventually got reported to DCS by an anonymous party and her kids were taken from her. She herself asked me to agree to take them, so they wouldn't go into foster care. Which I did. She was allowed visitation, but would show up drunk, and or high. This was not a pretty side of her. She said and done stuff that scared the kids, would try to start physical fights with me and my fiancé, and on multiple occasions, she downright insulted us, mostly using homophobic insults on us. Then she showed up high out of her mind, talking nonsense, and tried to run off with the kids. And when we wouldn't let her, she completely trashed our apartment. That was the last straw. We called the cops and she was arrested. Me and my fiancé agreed not to press charges, if she agreed to give up her custody rights. She agreed to sign the papers. This all happened over the span of 2.5 years. She also had a few D charges that we had no control over, but she ended up getting probation for those and is now posting about how we stole her kids. She's still a heavy user and has completely converted to homophobia. She tells people we are corrupting her children with our relationship. Now here's the part that might make me the a-hole. I was the anonymous reporter. I reported her in the first place. I never thought she'd lose her kids, as I wasn't aware of how bad she was in the hole with her substance use. I was just hoping the visits might get her to straighten up her act. So, am I the a-hole for stealing my ex-best friend's kids? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. In fact, if you hadn't been the one who reported, I'd be actually mad at you. The kids needed to be out of there, you did not steal them. You did the right thing. This right here. So agree. OP did the right thing. Not the a-hole. And we all knew you were the anonymous reporter before you admitted it. Because that was the right thing to do, even if you knew she was going to lose custody. You've saved these kids from a horrible life. Just think of that and let go of the rest. And move away for safety. Not the a-hole. Those children take priority over the dangerous habits of their so-called mother. You reported her and that's good. There are some people who are more dangerous to their kids than beneficial, and you did the right thing. She can tell people whatever she wants. Those kids are safe with you and your fiancé. Exactly. Besides, anyone who knows the egg donor, knows she's on D's and knows why she lost her kids. Not the a-hole, they're not her kids, and she had other options from the beginning to work with social workers, substance treatment, etc. That said, beyond the homophobia, as being homophobic isn't a legal issue. Legally, those are now your children, they're not hers. She did things to have them taken away and hasn't done anything to try to get them back. It would be different if she was clean for years and you didn't let them see her, but that's not the case. That said, it's hard to get your kids taken away. Judges want kids to stay with their biological mother, they'll work hard to make that happen, so this is on her. All of that said, it is important that they know she's their biological mother, and why, according to their age, she can't see them right now. But just like with any adoption, it's important that kids know the deal, of course according to their age. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.